Originated by Dr. Iftikhar ul-Haq, cell number 0333425713. Passage 6. Al-Fatiha, Surah 1. A. Theme. This is the opening surah of the Quran and is a summarized version of the entire Quran. Due to its importance, it is known by many other names. It is the only surah where Tasmiyah, in the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, is its first verse. The first 4 verses describe God as Lord of the worlds, both known and unknown to humans, His grace and mercy, and His overlordship of the Day of Judgment. The next 2 verses teach the believers to worship God alone and seek His help. The last 2 verses ask them to beg God to show them the straight path, designed by Him. It is the path followed by those who were blessed by God, not the one that incurred His anger. The right path is contained in the rest of Quran and Sunnah of the Prophet. Another verse mentions it as, "And verily you guide humans to the right path." 42:52, Al-Shura. B. Importance of the theme. This surah is so important that it was revealed first in Mecca and then in Medina. Its recitation is mandatory in daily prayers. As declared by the Prophet, there is no prayer/salat if a person fails to recite Al-Fatiha in it. Sahihain, according to a hadith Qudsi, when Al-Fatiha is recited sincerely and consciously as a supplication in salat, every word of it is received with grace and immediate acceptance by God. Therefore, children in all Muslim families are taught to learn this surah as part of their spiritual training. The Prophet called it, the mother of the book/Ummul Kitab. According to another hadith, when the Imam finishes the surah, the Muqtadas/followers should say, Ameen. May it be, as it coincides with the angels saying the same. Muslims, by reciting the surah, develop a strong hope of God's compassion. They also try to be pious because God is not only merciful but also Master of the Day of Judgment. This reminds them of their accountability in the divine court of justice. Originated by Dr. Iftikhar ul-Haq, cell number 0333425713. Passage 7. 2:21-22, Al-Baqarah. A. Theme. The 2 verses describe the fundamental Quranic message of believing in Tawhid and staying away from shirk. Verse 21 addresses the whole humankind, telling them that only one God created them and those before them. Therefore, if they want to protect themselves from God's anger and the fire of hell, they should worship Him alone. This will ensure their chances of living a righteous life. Verse 22 proceeds to outline God's blessings for the physical, and by deeper connotation, spiritual growth of humans. It refers to an intimate relationship between the earth as a resting place, and the heavens/sky as a ceiling or shield. Rainfall comes from the heavens to stimulate earth to produce crops that are a fruit of human labor. Like the previous verse, this verse also ends with a command to adore God alone and not associate any partners with Him, as shirk is the gravest of all sins. This Quranic injunction is repeated in many other surahs such as, "There is no God but I. Therefore worship and serve me." 21:25, Al-Anbiya. B. Importance of the theme. These verses convey the message of identifying God by way of the natural environment created by Him. This will convince them to express their gratitude by worshiping and obeying God. The passage instructs the Muslims is that they should realize the essential purpose of sending down all the divine books and the prophetic messengers. They all brought the universal message of Tawhid. The passage, therefore, teaches the Muslims to avoid shirk and bow before the Creator of all and closely observe God's innumerable favors and blessings. They should remember the important Quranic message of Surah 55, "Then which of the bounties of your Lord will you deny?" This will inculcate a strong sense of gratitude to God and taqwa/righteousness. They will be trained to remember Him, and this in turn will keep them on the path of piety and righteousness. Thus genuine believers will shape their lives based on their observation of nature and its positive consequences. Originated by Dr. Iftikhar ul-Haq, cell number 033342570013. Passage 8. Surah Al-Alaq, 96:1-5. A. Theme. These 5 verses of Surah Iqra/Al-Alaq are the first ever revelation that the Prophet received in the cave Hira in Ramadan 610 AD. The remaining 6 verses were revealed later when the Prophet began to offer regular prayer in the precincts of the Kaaba. The command of "read in the name of your Lord" in the first verse means the Prophet was already familiar with one supreme God. The word alaq was traditionally translated as a clot of congealed blood. In modern times it refers to the primary state of embryo that resembles a leech. The next verses mention God's power to create humans from a humble origin and mature them to acquire worldly knowledge by using the pen. The ability to read and write shaped human intellectual evolution over the ages. The last verse points to God's will to grant humans spiritual knowledge through divine revelation as and when it was required for humans. B. Importance of the theme. These verses teach Muslims to acknowledge God's favors of creating humans from a low origin and then making them distinct from all other creatures by way of gaining knowledge. The gift of knowledge is so supreme that God commanded the angels to bow down before Adam because he was made superior due to the knowledge granted to him by God. According to many, Ahadith, pen was among the first ever creations of God. The Quran, at another place, endorses the superiority of humans in these words: "We have indeed created man in the best of molds." 95:4, Al-Tin. The passage instructs Muslims to remember that God alone blessed them in multiple ways, and so, they should worship and be grateful to Him. Muslims, thus, are encouraged to keep their superior status over other creatures by acquiring knowledge both worldly and religious. This enables them to achieve success in this world and the hereafter. Originated by Dr. Iftikhar ul-Haq, cell number 033342570013. Passage 9. Surah Al-Zilzal, 99. A. Theme. Many commentators believe it to be a late Makkan surah, but some others regard it an early Madanian surah. The surah focuses on 3 main aspects of the end of time. First, it alerts humans about the initial horrible signs of the beginning of the Day of Judgment. They include the terrible convulsions the earth will experience. The earth will throw up all its contents. Another Quranic verse mentions the same as, "and when the earth is flattened and casts forth what is within it." 84:3-4, Al-Inshikak. Secondly, it informs humans about the earth bearing witness to all their deeds, much to their surprise. Humans will be shocked and distressed to see all this, as they had never imagined anything like this. Finally, it presents the scene of the divine court, where all will be categorized according to their good and evil deeds under the immaculate justice and power of God. The smallest possible deeds will be rewarded by God as He has arranged for the recording of each and every action of humans. B. Importance of the theme. This surah strengthens Muslims' belief in God's power to bring an end to time, and inculcates a genuine fear of accountability before Him. The tone and content of the surah have a strong impact on the Muslims. By understanding its message, the Muslims realize the worthlessness of this world, and the value of true and eternal world of the hereafter. This, in turn, will convince them to obey God's commands and not commit sins. If a believer has a true belief in the hereafter, he will not lose hope if he fails to get justice in this world. This belief will encourage him to avoid all possible evils. Moreover, he will try to live a righteous life because God promises greater rewards for good deeds. This Quranic verse will keep his hope alive. Surely God does not do injustice to the weight of an atom, and if it is a good deed he multiplies it. 440, Al-Nisa. Originated by Dr. Iftikhar ul-Haq, cell number 033342577013. Passage 10. Surah Al-Nas, 114. A. Theme. This is the last surah of the Quran revealed together with Surah 113. Both are called Al-Mu'awwizatayn, the two protectors. Some traditions declare them to be the Makkan surahs, but relatively stronger sources prove them to be Madaniyan. Both teach Muslims not to have any fears of the supernatural and the unknown, the internal and external evils that may affect them. Surah 113 mentions God's protection from the visible evils. This surah, on the other hand, reassures Muslims of God's powers to protect them against the invisible or internal evil forces. Repetition of God's attributes in the first 3 verses assures humans of God's powers and love for them. The remaining verses warn against Satan and mention his method of enticing humans. He injects evil ideas in their hearts and temporarily withdraws to see the effect of his attempt. For this reason, the Quran repeatedly declares, "Verily Satan is an avowed enemy to man." 12:5, Yusuf. B. Importance of the theme. This first word, Qul/say, requires Muslims to be obedient to God, as that is the only way to seek his refuge against evil. A genuine obedience removes any arrogance towards God or a false belief of having control over their destinies. Once, the Prophet was riding a mule along with a companion. When the mule stumbled, the companion said, "May Satan perish." The Prophet said, "Do not say that. It encourages Satan," and he says, "I knocked with my strength." But if you say, "In the name of God," Satan is dwarfed and becomes like a fly. This means the remembrance of God guarantees defeat of Satan. The Muslims are alerted against Satan's evil mission of misguiding them. Therefore, they follow the Prophet's tradition by reciting the last 2 surahs regularly before going to bed. Regular recitation of the last 2 surahs acts as an antidote against all satanic forces, however stronger they might be. Their dependence on God gets stronger. Originated by Dr. Iftikhar ul-Haq, cell number 033342577013. Theme 2. Q.A. From passages you have studied from the Quran, write about God's relationship with humankind. 10. B. Explain the significance of the Quran being revealed to humankind. 4. ANSA. The set passages are 1. Al-Fatiha, 2:21-22, Al-Baqarah, 96:1-5, Al-Alaq, 99, Al-Zilzal, and 114, Al-Nas. Surah Al-Fatiha presents a summary of God's relation with humankind. It begins with a praise of God, who is Lord of all the worlds, full of utmost degree of mercy and master of the Day of Judgment. The surah then mentions that God alone is worthy of worship, and his help is to be sought in all matters. It teaches Muslims to beg him for guiding them to the path of righteousness that guarantees God's pleasure. The right path, contained in the Quran and Hadith, is the way of living acceptable to God. Those communities who treaded this path were able to earn God's pleasure. Those who deviated from it became victims of his anger and wrath. The verses 21-22 of Surah Al-Baqarah give a description of God's love for humans, and his expectation from them to recognize him as the only creator of all humans. Verse 21 states the chance of being righteous as a result of worshipping one God. This reminds humans to accept one God in order to get a chance of salvation from hell. Verse 22 enlists God's bounties in terms of the intimate relationship between the earth and the heavens. This relationship is aimed at providing means of survival to humans in both the worlds. Earth is the ultimate resting place for all after a day-long hectic life. Heaven or sky acts as a shield that provides shade and keeps Earth vibrant and productive for the survival and growth of humans. Rainfall comes from the sky to feed Earth to produce food essential for humans. The purpose of mentioning all these is to alert humans to identify their true Lord and avoid shirk. The passage 96:1-5, Al-Alaq, the first revelation of the Quran, elaborates the ways humans are dependent on God. It invites humans to recall to their minds how God created them from a humble origin, then matured them and enabled them to acquire knowledge. The passage refers to God's special blessing for humans in the form of enabling them to acquire knowledge. This unique ability of using the pen by humans makes them distinct from and superior to other creatures. The passage, therefore, begins with the command, "Read in the name of your Lord." The 5 verses concisely describe God's greatest blessings on humans, granting them the skills to acquire knowledge, and sending for them divine revelations for their guidance and success in both the worlds. These blessings have exclusively been bestowed on humans who need to acknowledge them and express their gratitude to God by obeying His code of conduct. Surah 99, Al-Zilzal, presents some of the horrifying scenes of the end of time. It states the unusual tremors the earth will experience with the start of the day of judgment that will lead to a series of several chaotic and upsetting events. These subsequent events include the earth revealing its hidden contents, much to the shock of all humans who had never imagined such scenes. This means the earth will bear witness to the performance of all humans in their worldly living. They will then be categorized according to their deeds. The surah finally states the immaculate divine justice by which all humans will be rewarded for the smallest of good or bad deeds. Originated by Dr. Iftikhar ul-Haq, cell number 033342570013. Surah 114, Al-Nas, is the concluding surah of the Quran. It was revealed with Surah 113 in the same context. Both are collectively called Al-Mu'awwidhatayn, or the two protectors against evil forces. The surah begins in a reassuring tone by mentioning God's relation with humans in 3 capacities: Lord, King, and God of all mankind. It, therefore, commands Muslims to seek God's refuge against all evil forces, as He alone is capable of protecting them. It also tells about Satan's mode of misguiding humans by referring to his ability to inject evil ideas in their minds and then withdrawing temporarily to see the effect of his ugly mission. Satan's mission is to entice humans and keep them from obeying God, as is reminded by the Quran. Therefore, Muslims should always trust in God's supremacy against all evils, as He is the best protector. ANS-B. The Holy Quran is the last divine message revealed on the last messenger of God, Hazrat Muhammad. It contains guidance for all ages and communities, starting from the community of Hazrat Muhammad. It is to serve as the ultimate touchstone to tell right from wrong, as is declared in many of its verses. The Quran shows God's concern about humans who are target of Satan and his host of helpers. By revealing the Quran, God provided a shield to humans against all evils, and a guidance to the right path. Verily, this Quran guides to that which is most right. 17:9, Al-Isra. Thus, Quran guarantees man's success in both the worlds. It guides humans in matters concerning beliefs, acts of worship, as well as issues related to social interaction, so that a balanced way of life is followed by its readers. It is the medium through which humans can contact God. Q.A. The Quran teaches Muslims about their relationship with God. Write about this relationship using the passages you have studied. 10. B. God gave humankind guidance and teachings. Why does the Quran lay emphasis on the need to gain knowledge? 4. ANSA. Each of the 5 passages set for special study describes in its own way how God has been kind to humans, and how humans should respond to his favors. Surah 1, Al-Fatiha, states God's status as the Supreme Lord of the entire universe who deserves all praise. He is the ultimate and the best source of mercy and guidance, and he alone will judge all humans on the day of resurrection. Surah 99 reminds humans of God's powers to destroy the universe, but in this surah God has been mentioned as sustainer of all the worlds. Humans, in turn, need to worship him and seek his mercy and forgiveness. They should remember that God is not only most merciful but also just. He will dispense immaculate justice for all humans on the final day. Therefore, they should turn to him for guidance to the right path that is contained in the Quran and Sunnah. They should follow the teachings of these sources of ultimate guidance and salvation from the torment of hellfire. They should strengthen their bond with God by observing the 5 pillars and moral teachings of Islam. 2:21-22, the 2 verses of Al-Baqarah, describe the flawless arrangements made by God for the physical and spiritual growth of humankind. The verses draw human attention to God being the sole creator of all generations and races. He does not abandon his servants after creating them, but provides them with means of sustenance by a phenomenal cycle of rain, crop production and shelter. Thus, this passage resembles the passage 96:1-5 that originated by Dr. Iftikhar ul-Haq, cell number 033342570013. Also refers to how God enabled humans to acquire knowledge, both worldly and divine. Humans are expected to be grateful to him by preserving the environment and by not associating partners with him. They should worship him and acknowledge his immense bounties. First 5 verses of Surah Al-Alaq, 96:1-5, were revealed to the Prophet as an answer to the queries he had in his mind. He used to think about God's relation with humankind. God sent these verses to explain how he created humans from a very low origin and then matured him to acquire knowledge. Whereas the passage 2:21-22 talks about God's powers to provide food and shelter to humans, this passage refers to God's favor of granting humans the ability to acquire knowledge. This trait of humans made them superior over other creatures who are unable to read and write. God also sent the divine knowledge for their success in both the worlds. Humans should, therefore, acquire knowledge in order to identify the purpose of their living. They should also spread knowledge so that collective human welfare is ensured. Surah 99, Al-Zilzal, outlines the events of the end of time. It mentions Earth becoming a witness on the Day of Judgment to tell God how humans used or misused Earth and its resources. It reminds them their duties towards God and the environmental comforts he created for humankind. Surah 114 discusses God's powers to protect humans from evils, while this surah tells humans how to beware of the consequences of their actions on the earth. Humans should realize this by not damaging the environment and by following the guidance contained in the Quran and Sunnah. They should express thanks to God for being so caring towards them, and develop a sense of accountability before him for all their actions. Surah 114, Al-Nas, is the concluding surah of the Quran, and is believed to have been revealed together with Surah 113. As both have the same theme, they are called Al-Muawwidhatain, or the two protectors. This surah warns humans of the evil forces around them to which all are vulnerable. These unholy forces are led by Satan, who is assisted by his followers that include both humans and jinns. The passage 2:21-22 mentions God's favors for the survival of humans, but this surah alerts humans about the forces that can distract them from the right path. It teaches humans that only God can protect them from all satanic powers, as he is all-powerful. Surah 114 mentions these devilish elements have been created to test humans, and the only way of getting through these tests is to strengthen ties with God by seeking his refuge. Thus, it trains Muslims to conduct jihad bil nafs/spiritual jihad, which is a lifelong struggle against Satan. Humans should seek God's protection by remembering and obeying Him. Salat is the best means of remembering God. As is stated elsewhere in the Quran, and establish Salat in order to remember me. 2014. Taha, however, recitation of the Quran and observing other pillars of Islam are also effective antidote against Satan. ANS, B. The first Quranic revelation begins with the command to read, Iqra. This shows how important it is for humans to gain knowledge. By acquiring knowledge, humans are able to identify God, their duties towards Him and towards the fellow humans. Knowledge enables them to think about their purpose of living. The Quran repeatedly mentions the benefits of knowledge. At one place, it links knowledge with the creation of humankind. He has taught the Quran. He has created man. He has taught him how to express himself. 55:1-4, Al-Rahman. This means knowledge is the tool of expressing oneself. Humans need to express whatever good they have learned in the form of secular and spiritual knowledge. This enables them to guide others to follow the Quran and Sunnah. The Prophet, therefore, instructed all Muslims, to acquire knowledge is the duty of every Muslim man and Muslim woman. Originated by Dr. Iftikhar ul-Haq, cell number 033342570013. Originated by Dr. Iftikhar ul-Haq, cell number 033342570013. Passage 11.